Well, I was going to go for something exciting, like a slushy machine. We've been talking about getting a slushy machine for the pub, which would be quite fun. However, I think probably just water would be your best bet.
Okay.
Or, if Matt's insistent, maybe a pint of lager with a top of lemonade rather than a shandy. How about that?
Yeah, I'm going along with that. Better than water. I'm not going to the pub for water.
Well, you can have water
your best
as well.
water, please.
That's delicious.
Oh, just the water for
It's
me.
safety first.
That's true. So today's confession has been discussed at a committee meeting. Today's confession comes from Buster the Blowhard. And here's the warning that goes before it. Certain views and opinions in this confession reflect the views of a bygone era.
Right.
That era being the Dark Ages.
Right. Understood.
Simon, I need your help, says Buster the Blowhard, for reasons that will become obvious. Yeah, you do, Buster, but you're not getting it. I need to take you back to the early 80s. I was the proud owner of a vintage Triumph Dolomite Sprint. You know the one, deep crimson paintwork with a black vinyl roof. Back in the day, one of the fastest production cars on the road. Dolly, as I called her, was my pride and joy. Matt's head's already sinking.
Right.
As I lived in the Fens at the time, there were plenty of long, straight roads where I could really let Dolly go. Although, being a responsible driver, once the vibrations through the steering wheel made the wheel impossible to hold, I would take my foot off the accelerator a bit. I've toned this down, all right?
Okay.
I had to drive about 20 miles a day to get to work, and there was one particular long, straight stretch of road where Dolly was in her element. The road was usually empty, but every Wednesday there was a young lady learner driver who had a tendency to get in my way. This didn't cause much of a problem, as I could usually sail past, leaving the young lady driver trailing in my wake. One particular Wednesday, however, there was a problem. A stream of fairground lorries were on the other side of the road, driving very slowly towards me. In the distance, I noticed my learner driver. I rapidly caught up with her, but I couldn't get past. So I sat about 2 feet from her bumper, headlights on full beam, revving the accelerator. Exactly. Eventually, the oncoming traffic cleared, and I was able to fly past the learner, leaving her trailing in a wake which smell of burning rubber and exhaust fumes. I just had time to look in the rear-view mirror and saw the young lady exit her car in floods of tears. Oh well, the incident was soon forgotten because I never saw her again.
Right. Okay.
I now need to fast forward to the present day, says Buster the Blowhard. The intervening years have been good to me. I married a very attractive girl. We produced 2 lovely daughters. Unfortunately, neither of them wants to work. So both have stayed on at university to get their master's degrees. I therefore have no money. My wife, we'll call her Mandy, has a girly night every month. This seems to involve Mandy and her friends lounging around the house, moaning about their husbands. Can't imagine why.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Whilst emptying the contents of my drinks cabinet. Every paragraph.
My drink.
My
cabinet.
drinks, yeah.
At about 10 p.m, having downed their second bottle of gin, they seem to play a game called See Who Can Talk the Loudest. My sole function on these evenings is to sit in the study and then make copious amounts of black coffee in order to get the coven sober enough to walk to the door when, quotes, their long-suffering menfolk come to collect them.
I think it's the other way round.
This particular evening last April, I hadn't quite shut the study door, so I could hear the raucous goings-on in the lounge. Most of the conversation was irrelevant, as usual, but they then started talking... about driving.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Mandy was making herself heard above the general din. That's my wife, you remember. Not her real name.
No.
To hush tones in the room, she told a story of how she'd been driven off the road by a young maniac in a red car with a black vinyl roof on the morning of her driving test. She failed her test and hadn't got back behind the steering wheel for 40 years. Listening to this in the study, something stirred at the back of my brain, and visions of Dolly the Triumph and the young learner driver came flooding back. Then reality hit. Simon, I had unknowingly married that learner driver. When I regained my composure, I realised that I now had a conundrum. I soon realised that there was only one course of action open to me, so I silently opened the study door and said nothing. And that is how things have remained.
Oh, no.
In my defence, I feel as though I've already suffered because of my earlier misdemeanour.
Wrong.
The past 40 years, I've
definitely wrong.
Past 40 years, I've had to always drive whenever we go anywhere, whilst Mandy has managed to drink away to her heart's content.
Serves right.
I feel It's now time for my confession to be heard. And so I'm asking for forgiveness from you and the assembled collective. And then he says in brackets, if you could assemble an all-male collective, I might have more chance. I leave you more in hope than expectation. I tell you, Buster the Blowhard, we did have a committee meeting because clearly everything in that is so utterly reprehensible, but I thought people might like to hear it. Anyway, what's interesting is that apparently Mandy still doesn't realise that she has married the person that drove her off the road in the first place, Sister Susie from the pub.
Buster, I don't know what I can say to this. Never come to my pub because you're not welcome. He can get in the bin. That was just really rude. He was really rude to the learner driver in the first place, and he was really rude to all his wife and all her friends. And I hope if Mandy ever does find out, she does leave you because you deserve it. I'm sorry, Buster, not forgiven. And Matt better not forgive either.
I think that's it. Well, you know what he's like.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't think there's much danger. Also,
I don't think I can forgive Matt if he doesn't forgive.
Also, how rude about his daughters. Anyway.
Yeah. Don't appear to be interested in working.
Yes, exactly. So they're doing their masters. Anyway.
Well, Buster's a real catch, isn't he? Form an orderly queue there, ladies. I'm obviously not going to forget. I mean, even I, with the morals of a sewer rat, can't find anything to redeem him there. I mean, reap what you sow there, sunshine. Unlucky. So, yes, I'm afraid unforgiven.
I think Mandy must have known, surely, what kind of guy she was. Anyway.
Well, hang on now. We're not going to suddenly come down on that.
No. Anyway, says the people.